She said I'd never make it as an artist. I proved her wrong, on her own stage. My name is Maya Rivera, and those cutting words from my mentor, Elena Voss, still echo in my mind like a jagged refrain. It was a foggy April evening in 2025, the San Francisco streets glistening with mist, where I'd just been unceremoniously dropped from the prestigious Voss Gallery's spring showcase after a scathing critique. I was 28, a passionate painter with a bold vision for abstract expressionism and a fledgling idea for an art collective, Rivera Visions, still in its infancy with no exhibitions yet. Elena, a 52-year-old art doyenne with a reputation for shaping careers, had torn into my work during a private review, her voice dripping with disdain as she declared, "You lack the talent to succeed here." The gallery's polished walls, lined with her protégé's works, seemed to close in, the silence of her assistants amplifying the sting, but beneath my flushed cheeks, I held a secret. Weeks earlier, I'd secured a small grant to launch Rivera Visions. That night, alone in my cluttered loft overlooking the Bay Bridge, the foghorn's mournful call a lonely companion, I opened my sketchbook, my hands steady with resolve. The path ahead would turn her rejection into my triumph. The dismissal cut deep, a wound that refused to heal. Elena had been my guide, late-night critiques in her Haight-Ashbury studio, trips to Marin Headlands for inspiration, dreams of breaking into the art world together, until her favoritism toward her inner circle overshadowed my growth. Raised in San Francisco's vibrant Mission District, I'd honed my craft under her wing, but her gallery's elite circle left me on the fringes, my voice muted. The critique, delivered with a public flourish in front of her clique, felt like a betrayal of our shared history. Her assistants nodding in agreement, my confidence shattered. I was an only daughter, raised by a mother who saw art as a frivolous dream, and now that resilience flared, the pain sparked a resolve. I'd build a collective to rival her gallery, redefine her space with my vision, and prove my worth. I took my sketchbook to a cozy cafe on Valencia Street, its aroma of freshly baked sourdough a comfort, planning Rivera Visions with fierce determination. By May 2025, I'd saved $8,500 from odd art commissions, my focus sharpening with each brushstroke. The journey was relentless, a test of spirit. I balanced collective work and freelance gigs, sleeping 5 hours a night, my fingers stained with paint and exhaustion. I'd conceived Rivera Visions during a late-night session, a platform for underrepresented artists, now valued at $10,000 in potential. Elena's rejection shaped a strategy. I'd grow my venture, challenge her gallery, and turn her doubt into my fuel. I contacted a mentor, Professor Lee, costing $2,500 for guidance, my savings hitting $11,000 by June 2025. I worked 55-hour weeks creating pieces, earning a $1,800 fee from a local mural project, my resolve strengthening with each canvas. Building Rivera Visions demanded grit. I analyzed Voss Gallery's market, Elena's $5 million empire with a faltering reputation, spotting gaps in her curated exclusivity. I hired Professor Lee, her expertise a beacon, and gathered data. Declining attendance, artist complaints, Elena's reliance on a narrow aesthetic. My savings rose to $13,000, and I invested $4,000 in a pop-up space for a debut show, projecting $9,000 returns. I attended an art fair on June 20, 2025, networking with gallery owners, my portfolio bold. A collector, impressed by my passion, offered contacts, but Elena's presence, smirking from her booth, rattled me. Doubts crept in. Could I outshine her? Would her influence sabotage me? I pressed on, drafting a vision plan on a cafe napkin, the ink blending with spilled latte, a symbol of my dual worlds. The confrontation simmered. I invited Professor Lee to my loft on June 25, 2025, my heart thudding. She arrived, her portfolio case heavy with notes. I spread the data, Voss Gallery's flaws, Elena's favoritism. You can disrupt her, she said, her voice steady. Her audience is ready for change. I called a former classmate, Zara, who'd left Elena's circle, seeking insight. She visited, her face tense, the data in my hands. Elena's losing grip, she warned. But she'll fight back. The truth was daunting. Opportunity laced with risk, igniting my drive. The shift was empowering. I expanded Rivera Visions, securing a $6,000 contract with a San Francisco cafe for wall art, my savings climbing to $16,000. My venture valuation hit $15,000, but the rivalry consumed me. Zara called, cautioning about Elena's network, but I hung up, her warning a hurdle. Rivera Visions thrived, booking $2,000 in pre-sales. My focus turned to growth, launching a Vision Rise crowdfunding campaign, earning $1,500 in pledges. But tension brewed. A rival artist, Julian Hart, began underbidding my commissions, his tone smug, his style echoing mine. I uncovered his tie to Elena, her protégé, costing me a $2,500 deal. A sudden fog rolled in, dampening my loft and ruining a canvas. I tensed. Was this Julian's move or nature's challenge? Standing amid the damp chaos, the vision plan in hand, I felt Elena's critique and a rising obstacle. What was next? The dampened canvas and Julian Hart's undercut bids haunted me as I stood in my San Francisco loft, the Bay Bridge barely visible through a thick fog rolling off the bay. The thrill of building Rivera Visions, my mentor Elena Voss's rival, backed by the Vision Rise campaign, felt like a fragile victory against this mounting pressure. My fingers brushed the ruined artwork, Elena's scathing critique a stark contrast to my progress. The insurance claim on the fog damage was pending, Professor Lee's guidance a flickering hope. Was Julian sabotaging me, leveraging his protégé status with Elena? Or was the fog a random setback, testing my spirit? My pulse raced, but I steadied myself. The crowdfunding earned $1,800 monthly, my savings at $16,000, and Rivera Visions thrived with $2,500 monthly from pre-sales. Yet the challenge hinted at a deeper rivalry. I salvaged the canvas, determined to press on, and called Professor Lee, her voice a calming anchor. Keep creating, she said. We'll outshine them. I nodded, plotting my next exhibit. The next morning, I met Professor Lee at a cafe on Fillmore Street, the scent of fresh pastries blending with my resolve. Her sharp eyes scanned the damage report and Julian's bid sheets. This is deliberate interference, she said, her notebook open. Expand your reach and protect your work. Elena's the prize. I agreed, my mind racing. I contacted art patrons, launching a Vision Bloom funding drive to grow Rivera Visions, costing $5,500 and dipping my savings to $10,500. At my loft, I briefed my team, 2 artists, a social media coordinator. In the living room, the air still humid from the fog. We're under attack, I explained, showing the evidence. Their faces hardened, but they rallied, vowing support. My venture valuation hit $20,000, but the stakes rose with every brushstroke. My growth intensified. I expanded Rivera Visions, securing a $7,000 contract with a San Francisco boutique for mural art, and invested $6,000 in premium art supplies, projecting $12,000 returns. My savings climbed to $11,000, and I upgraded the loft with moisture-resistant storage, working 18-hour days to prepare new pieces amid the city's dampness. Zara called, her voice laced with worry, urging me to avoid Elena's retaliation. But I hung up, her caution a hurdle. The boutique deal added $4,000 monthly, boosting my momentum. Professor Lee's update unsettled me. Julian had been seen at Voss Gallery, his art now mimicking my style, and his alliance with Elena fueled his interference. He's guarding her reputation, she said. But her gallery's struggling. The rivalry burned in my mind, a flame I couldn't extinguish. The pressure escalated a week later. A gallery pitch was sabotaged. Julian's team spread rumors of my inexperience, costing me a $3,000 commission. No threat, just a sting. My stomach tightened. I called Professor Lee, who suggested a public exhibit to expose Julian's tactics. I reinforced the loft, spending $3,800 on humidity controls, and hired a part-time assistant, a meticulous curator named Anna. The police noted the rumors, Julian's voice on a recording, but no legal action, while Professor Lee traced his supplier ties, hinting at a grudge. Paranoia crept in, every knock a potential sabotage. Yet I refused to yield. I leveraged the funding drive's buzz, launching a Vision Live exhibition series that booked $5,200, lifting my income. Julian confronted me, calling from his studio, his tone smug. "Maya, you're out of your league," he taunted. "Step back." I hung up, but curiosity gnawed. Professor Lee dug deeper, uncovering Julian's past rivalry with Elena over a solo show. A bond turned bitter. "He's using you to spite her," she warned. I faced Julian at an art fair, on a nearby. "Why copy me?" I demanded. He smirked. "Elena's fall benefits us both." I left, his words a puzzle, but the rivalry hinted at a shared agenda. I mounted a counterstrike. With Professor Lee's help, I streamed the exhibition, showcasing my originals against Julian's copies, drawing 1,300 viewers. I boosted my outreach, securing a $11,000 contract with a local arts council, pushing my valuation to $35,000. The council's team monitored my work, easing my nerves. But tension mounted. An exhibition was cut short. Power outage, Julian's laughter in the crowd. The police logged it, but proof was thin. I called Professor Lee, who suggested a personal angle given Zara's hints. The stream gained traction. I compiled evidence. Professor Lee's reports, Julian's rumors, fair footage. Working late to refine it, my loft lit by a desk lamp. Julian offered a $10,000 truce to end the exhibitions. "Let's collaborate." He pressed over a tense call. "No," I told Professor Lee. "I want Voss Gallery." The next live event arrived. A virtual crowd of 1,700. Julian scowled as I revealed his art thefts, Elena's name surfacing. The chat buzzed, viewers rallied, and Julian's credibility waned. As I signed off, he muttered, "You'll regret this." That night, a heavy fog engulfed San Francisco, dampening the city. No message, but a legal letter from Voss Gallery's counsel slid under the door. "Cease rivalry or face review." No court, just pressure. I froze. Who sent it? Julian's move? Elena's defense? The victory felt fragile, a new obstacle rising. I called Professor Lee, who promised a counterplan. My rise was gaining, but the fog was thickening. The legal letter from Voss Gallery and the relentless fog cloaking San Francisco haunted me as I stood in my loft, the Bay Bridge a ghostly silhouette through the mist. The thrill of outpacing my mentor Elena Voss with Rivera Visions, bolstered by the Vision Live exhibition, felt like a fragile triumph against this rising pressure. My breath caught as I reread the letter. Cease rivalry or face review. The unknown force from Elena's art world, a stark contrast to my burgeoning success. The paper damp in my hands. The police probe into Julian Hart's interference had stalled. Professor Lee's strategy a fragile thread amid the fog's embrace. Who was behind this? Julian's network, fueled by his grudge? Elena's allies, shielding her legacy? Or a gallery shield I hadn't yet breached? I dialed Professor Lee. My voice steady despite the tension knotting my stomach, the phone slick with condensation. "Push forward," I said, my words a pledge. "We're near the end." She assured me of her support, her tone a rock in the mist. The victory was mine, Julian's credibility shaken, my collective soaring, but a storm brewed with every stroke of my brush. The next day, I met Professor Lee at a gallery space near the Presidio, the scent of wet canvas and coffee grounding me amid the fog's aftermath. Her furrowed brow examined the letter and exhibition data, the hum of a dehumidifier filling the silence. "This is gallery intimidation," she said, her fingers tracing the letterhead. "Go public with the takeover and safeguard your art. Elena's the linchpin." I nodded, my mind racing with determination. The sound of foghorns a distant pulse. I contacted art investors, planning a vision takeover event to secure Voss Gallery, costing $14,000 and dipping my savings to negative $1,500. A bold move offset by a small arts loan. At my loft, I briefed my team, 3 artists, a live stream host. In the living room, the air heavy with moisture. "We're under fire," I explained, showing the evidence, my voice firm despite the damp chill. Their faces steeled, but they rallied, vowing allegiance with a shared glance, their trust a bulwark. My venture earned $11,000 monthly, a testament to my rise from Elena's shadow. But peril loomed like the fog outside. I spent $13,000 on fogproofing, sealed windows and climate control. Reducing my savings further, the lone tightrope I walked. Protection became my fortress. Professor Lee's first update came that evening, her voice cutting through the static of a fog-dampened line. She'd secured a key investor, eyeing Voss Gallery's $5.2 million valuation. Its attendance down 25% since my campaign exposed their stagnation. Elena's curated elite is the fracture, she said, her words crisp with possibility. You can redefine it. I shared it with my team, their eyes brightening as we drafted takeover terms, the room alive with the rustle of sketchpads and the flicker of projector light. Meanwhile, I plunged into work, launching a Rivera Master Art series, booking $24,000 and earning $14,000, the creative surge a lifeline for my strained spirit. My savings rose to $12,000 with the loan, my venture valuation reaching $55,000. A milestone that pulsed with pride and pressure. Zara called, her voice thick with worry, begging me to reconcile with Elena. Her regret a thread she clung to, but I hung up, her plea a weight I couldn't bear, the memory of that critique too raw. The rivalry cast a shadow over my achievements, a fog I refused to let obscure my light. A dense fog rolled in days later, soaking the streets and cutting visibility, forcing a 2-day closure as moisture seeped into my loft. No note, just nature's shroud intensified by the season. The police logged it as weather-related, a report filed with little progress, but I suspected Julian's influence. His smirk at the fair lingered, a hint of sabotage. I called Professor Lee, her voice steady over the crackling line, who suggested a live reveal to corner Voss Gallery. I agreed, drafting a statement with a steady hand. From failure to fame, I faced their resistance. I won't falter. The event, held virtually from a rented studio, drew 2,300 attendees, their digital presence a sea of supportive faces on my screen. My voice trembled as I presented the takeover pitch. Elena's curated flaws a stark exhibit, but I stood tall, my resolve hardening with each word, the weight of 2,300 eyes fueling my fire. The story erupted. Artist redefines Mentor's Gallery, a headline that reverberated across art circles, boosting my bookings to $27,000 monthly. Though the tension mounted like the rising mist, Professor Lee's next report unveiled layers of intrigue. She'd uncovered Elena's internal notes, panicking about the takeover's threat to her status, and Julian's role in stealing my sketches to discredit me. A rivalry turned venomous. Elena's expendable, she said, her tone pragmatic. The board seeks a new vision. Your art's their salvation. I tensed, the stakes soaring to a dizzying peak, my heart pounding with the thrill of victory within grasp. I rallied the event community, forming a vision collective to counter Voss Gallery's narrative, their support a digital stronghold at my command, strengthening my position. I fortified the loft, adding $9,000 in humidity barriers and a 12th guard, a vigilant woman named Lila. My savings dipped to $3,500, the loan a lifeline I balanced, but the team's spirit held like an unbreakable thread. I trained them in public advocacy, turning the space into an art hub. The sabotage probe gained momentum. My team uncovered Julian's forged artist reviews, costing me $10,000 in lost credibility. I reported it to the police, who raided his studio, seizing sketchbooks. Zara visited, her eyes red, confessing. Elena's crumbling, but her pride blinds her, adding familial pressure. Julian's influence waned, losing 65% of his leverage. Victory transformed my world. My savings hit $65,000 with new contracts, $29,000 monthly from the art series, a creative outlet, and $18,000 from an art festival deal, a platform for my power. My venture valuation soared to $80,000. I upgraded Rivera Visions to a gallery space, its walls adorned with my works, celebrating with local wine under fairy lights. But peace faltered when a text arrived, unknown number. You've crossed a line. Retreat. I froze. Professor Lee traced it to a burner, likely Voss Gallery's legal team. I hired a compliance consultant, spending $14,000. The challenge persisted. A rival gallery outbid me, Julian's doing, and my site was hacked, mocking my rise. The police probed, but leads lagged. I launched a art future fund for $75,000, turning pain into purpose. The festival grew to $20,000 monthly. I drafted a manifesto. From failure to frame, working late. A figure lingered near the gallery. Professor Lee suggested Julian's aid with Voss Gallery's backing. I added $11,000 in surveillance, savings at $70,000. Standing in the gallery, the city aglow, I felt a win. Voss Gallery near, Elena faltering, but the retreat loomed. Was it Julian's revenge? A gallery shield? I sipped tea, the figure lingering. What was next? Hey, Revenge Tempest fans! Maya's journey from failure to frame is unforgettable. Loved it? Smash that subscribe button and join our crew. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from.